So Eric Balkunas had this great post. Look, the industry, the RIA industry, advisor industry controls about 30 trillion, 30 trillion. And let's say 0.1%, buy an ETF, Bitcoin ETF. That's 30 billion. Well, 30 billion on 500 billion, that's not very much, but it's not 500 billion. Remember, it's probably 100-ish of the 500 that is the free float. So 30 on 100, that would move the price. Price would go up. But what if it's 1%? Forget 10 basis points. What if it's 1%? 300 on 100, then we get that parabolic spike we had in the last run where we went from 10 to 50.
Earlier this year, Mark Yusko, the founder, CEO, and chief investment officer of Morgan Creek Capital Management, made a remarkably accurate prediction. He foresaw that crypto summer would commence on June 15th, coincidentally aligning with the day BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, filed its Bitcoin ETF application with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. This announcement triggered a surge in Bitcoin's price, rising from $25,121 to $31,474 about a month later on July 14th. Despite the subsequent retracement of prices to pre-announcement levels, Yusko remains optimistic, labeling it as still being in the crypto summer phase, typically marked by rising cryptocurrency prices. However, this summer is unique, as it coincides with a tumultuous macroeconomic environment in the United States. The U.S. Federal Reserve is aggressively pursuing interest rate hikes, causing significant economic turmoil, including a notable increase in Chapter 11 bankruptcy filings. This environment is creating liquidity challenges that are affecting all assets, including cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. In this uncertain landscape, Yusko points out that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are not immune to the broader economic volatility. The market's increased turbulence mirrors the occasional disturbances of summer, but this year's summer is unlike any other. It's the first time that Bitcoin and the broader cryptocurrency industry are navigating such chaos on the macroeconomic stage in the United States, making it a unique and intriguing season for crypto enthusiasts and investors alike.
Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to drop your comment and observations in the comment section below. Thanks and enjoy the video.
It's been a very strange summer, right? If you follow my cycle logic, which I've been talking about for a while, we transitioned from crypto spring to crypto summer on June 15th. And many people, when they hear crypto summer, are like, oh, good, that's the big up. Well, actually, no, that's crypto fall. So crypto fall, that period kind of right after the halving, is when you get the really big parabolic moves. Crypto summer is kind of a funky period. It's generally upward trending, although very slight. And in fact, a couple of the cycles have been pretty flat-ish. They're still generally up. And I have been positive in the sense that, or I've been positively inclined. We've been making higher highs and higher lows. So again, the trend is generally up, but this latest move down in Bitcoin sub 26 is starting to get close to that previous low, which, look, if we break that, then the trend changes. Things are looking depressed, other than hash rate still really strong. Transaction volumes are okay, but the buzz is definitely down. You don't hear people talking as much about it. Maybe that's just the revamp of Twitter. I'm not going to call it X, by the way. And engagement's down everywhere and people aren't really going there as much. I find myself spending more time on LinkedIn, actually, which is interesting. So that's a long rambling answer to say summertime is normally, actual physical summer is normally a time of lower volatility and lower volumes because people are out. And I think that was true again this year. Now, the difference between traditional markets and digital asset markets, regular markets, when people are away, things just shut down because the markets are closed more hours than they're open. In the digital world, people can trade anywhere. So in theory, even if you're on vacation, you got your phone with you, you can still be active. but I just feel like there was a lull, and yet we've had some meaningful positive announcements. I think we'll talk about some of them, but generally this is a meandering time, kind of approaching the halving next spring. I would probably lean toward liquidity. Liquidity drives markets, and I've said that for forever, and it's really true. And particularly in digital space, particularly, take something like Bitcoin, right? One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin, always will. And it eventually, we all hope, becomes a unit of account the way we think about value. But that's not what people talk about, right? They talk about Bitcoin in something else, in dollars, usually. That's the number most of us talk about. But if you're in Argentina, you're talking about it in pesos. And that's, making new highs lately because the peso's in the toilet. If you're in Argentina, you're talking about it in bolivars, or in Turkey, you're talking about it in lira, all of which are down. Those are down. So Bitcoin in those currencies is up. But the rate of change of dollar growth has slowed. And therefore, you think about it, right before the pandemic, we were in that $14,000, $15,000 range. They doubled the money supply, so we should be kind of in the 28-ish range. And we're kind of in the 26 range. So it's kind of where we should be if we think about it in Bitcoin per dollar. So in the absence of a lot of monetary stimulus, there's not a lot of translation change that's going to happen.
Mark Yusko highlights that the absence of significant monetary stimulus has resulted in a limited number of people actively acquiring assets, ultimately leading to subdued or stagnant price movements. This, he explains as a renowned hedge fund manager, is a key factor contributing to the underperformance of the cryptocurrency market. With many individuals scaling back their savings after depleting their pandemic-related savings, Yusko suggests that the overall macroeconomic trend is pointing downward, and substantial improvements may not materialize in the near term. However, there are two significant events on the horizon that both Yusko and other crypto enthusiasts are eagerly anticipating in 2024. The first event is the potential approval of at least one spot Bitcoin ETF, a development that could trigger widespread adoption among investors, subsequently driving up demand for Bitcoin. The second event is the 2024 Bitcoin halving, which will reduce the Bitcoin block reward from 6.25 to 3.125 Bitcoin per block, leading to a decrease in the cryptocurrency's overall supply. These two events are expected to have substantial impacts on the price of Bitcoin. For further insights from Yusko's interview, please see the additional clips below.
It's certainly mass adoption, so for sure. So, and let's just do math. So Eric Balchunas had this great post. Look, the industry, the RIA industry, advisor industry, controls about 30 trillion. And let's say 0.1%, buy an ETF, Bitcoin ETF. That's 30 billion. Well, 30 billion on 500 billion, that's not very much, but it's not 500 billion. Remember, it's probably 100-ish of the 500 that is the free float. So 30 on 100, that would move the price. Price would go up. But what if it's 1%? Forget 10 basis points. What if it's 1%? 300 on 100, then we get that parabolic spike we had in the last run where we went from 10 to 50. And that could definitely happen. Now, all of this is in relation to fair value. So fair value today, somewhere around 50K, that's based on the Metcalfe's law curve. We're below that, obviously. So we should accrete toward that fair value between now and the halving next year. The halving potentially doubles the fair value, because if the price doesn't rise, then the miners go out of business. That's probably not going to happen. So what has happened in history is fair value rises, price rises, and we get slow accretion to that. So now we're talking, could that, see a parabolic move from 25 to 100? Sure. And do you blow right through fair value and go to overvalue? Probably. What precipitates all of that? Adoption. And if 300 billion, which is only 1%, starts flowing in. Now, the converse of that is there's 20 billion in GBTC that if GBTC doesn't get approved, and let's say BlackRock does, is all of that 20 billion going to liquidate? Probably. I mean, probably if you're paying 2% and you can go pay, I don't even know what BlackRock's charging, but call it 50 basis points. Maybe it's less, but call it 50 basis points. You're definitely selling GBTC and you're buying the ETF. So if only 10 basis points comes in, we got 30 billion in, we got 20 billion going out. Oh my God, the price could actually stagnate or God forbid, go down in the short run because people would freak out because there wasn't this big rally after the approval. I think that would be temporary because even if all of GBTC liquidates, which it probably will, that's only 20 bills. Whereas I do think the adoption is going to be 1, maybe even 2%. Now we're talking 300 to 600 billion. That's a big move up. So mass adoption for sure. How fast? That's another question.
There is considerable anticipation surrounding the Federal Reserve's response to Wednesday's CPI data. Economists are projecting a substantial discrepancy between the overall inflation increase and the core reading, primarily attributed to rising gas prices. Bank of America analysts are anticipating a significant 5.9% surge in energy prices, which would contribute to a 0.6% overall uptick in the inflation data. However, they are predicting a more modest 0.2% month-over-month increase in core inflation, which excludes fluctuations in food and energy prices and is the preferred inflation metric for the Federal. The question arises, will the Federal Reserve follow through with its commitment to maintaining high interest rates until inflation descends to 2%? How might this decision impact future prices? We invite you to share your thoughts and comments on Yusko's Bitcoin predictions in the comments section below. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.